My soon-to-be ex-wife, Leah, 26 female, and I, 28 male, have been married for 6 months after being together for 2 years. A few days ago, I spoke to a lawyer and filed for divorce because she sold the wedding ring that I had proposed to her. It was a pretty expensive ring. It had a platinum band and was studded with diamonds, and it has been in my family for 3 generations. So it was a pretty big deal for me, and she knew for a fact that I wanted to keep it in the family since it's been an heirloom. Last week, when I noticed that her ring was missing, I asked her about it, and she told me very casually that she had sold it so she could make a few luxury purchases since the ring was very old-fashioned to look at and wasn't really her style. With that money, she had bought a few handbags from luxury brands and other items of jewelry. She acted like it was no big deal when she was telling me about it, but I obviously started freaking out at her because my mom and my grandma are still around, and if they found out, they would be very upset. So I started telling her that she needed to return all that stuff and buy that ring back because that was meant to be a family heirloom, and she knew that. And I couldn't understand how she had made a huge mistake like this. But she clarified that it was not a mistake. She had done this on purpose, and she knew that I was going to start losing my mind. So she had her defense ready as well. Apparently, right from the day I had proposed, she hadn't really liked the ring, but hadn't said anything about it because it belonged to my family. However, now that we are married, it technically belongs to her, and she could do whatever she wanted with it. Which is why she sold it, and I couldn't complain about it either. That was her defense. And she actually thought that it was airtight logic. But I didn't care. We got into a massive fight, and we ended up screaming at each other like never before. And I told her that I wanted that ring back at any cost. I didn't care what she had to do. And she told me that she was not returning anything, and if I wanted that ring back, I would have to buy it back from the buyer myself. I was so upset that I ended up packing a small bag and driving to a hotel in the suburbs where I currently am. She did not try to stop me. She didn't even look up as I was leaving, and after that, she hasn't tried to contact me either. I waited for 2 days for her to reach out to me, and when she didn't, I spoke to my friends, and they put me in touch with a good divorce attorney on the third day. After speaking with the lawyer, I blocked her everywhere, and yesterday, after I received the divorce papers from the lawyer, I signed them, and then I went back home during the day. I skipped work so I could go home when she wouldn't be around, went inside the house and left the divorce papers on the coffee table, and then I started clearing out my stuff. Thankfully, I had a few friends who were willing to help me out. They helped me carry the heavier and bigger stuff and are storing it at their places right now until I find another place for myself. By the time I was done, everything that belonged to me was gone, and there was literally no trace of me anymore. Then I came back to the hotel, and in the evening after 6, when Leah came back home from work, I started receiving phone calls from her parents and texts saying that I couldn't do this, that I should just talk to her once and I need to unblock her because this is something very petty and I can't just end our marriage over something like this. But I didn't care. I blocked them as well. So she sent her friends after me. They started telling me that whatever I was doing was unreasonable. I was being petty and egoistic, and they also told me that apparently, right after I had left, Leah had already reached out to the jeweler that she had sold the ring to and was in the process of buying it back because she felt bad for it. But I couldn't even give her that much time. So they started making me out to be the bad guy here, and now I feel like I might have overreacted. And I've been feeling weird since last evening now. AITA for filing for divorce because my wife sold the wedding ring that had been in my family for generations. Edit. Nobody in my family has any idea about what is happening right now. I don't want them to worry. which is why I didn't tell them anything. My maternal grandmother is pretty old. That's who the ring originally belonged to, since my grandfather proposed to her with it, and I don't want her to have a heart attack, which she will definitely have if I tell her that Leah sold the ring. It's very important to my family, and I myself have been speaking to the jeweler that Leah sold the ring to for the past couple of days. She had provided me with the contact info while we were fighting, when she had told me that if I wanted the ring back so bad, then I should just go buy it back myself. But I haven't been able to buy it back yet, since the jeweler is quoting a much higher price than he purchased it from Leah for. And I'm trying to negotiate with him right now. However, I did ask him if Leah was also trying to buy the ring back, and he confirmed that she was also in the process of buying it back, and he had decided that he was going to return it to whoever came up with the money first. In the meantime, if any other client was willing to pay a higher price than what he was quoting to us, then he would sell it to them instead. So he had to act fast because the ring was on display at his store, and he doesn't have any reservation policy as such. So he's not going to hold on to it if somebody offers more money. It's been very annoying to deal with him, but at the end of the day, he's a businessman, and I can't hold this against him because, after all, it was Leah who sold him the ring, and he paid good money for it. So it's all fair game for him. But I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that I'm able to put together the money as soon as I can, or maybe he might lower the price that he's quoting and I'll be able to buy it back. Only after that will I be able to tell my family what is going on right now, because otherwise things will just get very messy, and I don't want them to panic. Update 1. So it's been 4 days since I first posted here. Thank you so much to everybody who commented on my post. It was all extremely helpful to know that I was doing the right thing, because I had seriously started to doubt myself. Her friends had really gotten into my head. They had been very vehement about villainizing me here, but thankfully, I didn't take it to heart. I blocked all her friends and all her family members. I don't want anything to do with any of them right now. Because of everything that has happened in the past few days, it's really been screwing with my head. Leah and I have been together for a few years, and I never imagined something like this ever happening. She's always been a bit materialistic. That's something I'll have to accept. But I never thought that she would go to this extent. And then for her to pretend like she hadn't even done anything wrong, that's what really caught me off guard. Because it's not like we haven't had fights before. Of course we had, like any other couple. But this one was different. I saw a different side of her. And that's why I decided to get a divorce, because just 6 months into our marriage, she thought that she could treat me like this. Then she's wrong. She cannot walk all over me and expect me to stay. And the thing about the ring, it might seem like a small thing to everyone else, but for me and my family, it's a huge deal. It's not like she didn't know that I had mentioned it in my original post as well, that she knew very well that I intended for the ring to be a family heirloom. You don't just sell a family heirloom and then pretend like it's completely fine, because technically it belongs to you now. And I wish I could say all this to her family and her friends, who were so bent on making me out to be the bad guy. But I don't think it's worth the trouble. She herself hasn't made any attempt to contact me herself, which is weird, given how desperate she seems. I know for a fact that she has a burner account on social media, and I haven't blocked that one, but she hasn't sent me any texts from there. So I guess it's not really her trying to get back with me, it's just her trying to make me feel like I'm the bad guy here because I filed for divorce. At least that's how the situation looks right now. I'm really not sure of anything at the moment. Anyway, coming to the ring and the jeweler guy, I've been in touch with him, and he has told me that Leah hasn't been responding to his messages for the past 2 days. So maybe she's backed off. I don't know what's going on with her, but I told him that I was willing to buy the ring back at the price that he was quoting, because at this point I was just desperate to get it back by hook or by crook. So he agreed. And tomorrow I'm going to go to his store, write him a check, and get my ring back. And then I'm finally going to tell my family about what's been going on with me and Leah. Because I think it's time they find out. They still have no idea, and my mom has been asking me why neither of us is at home and why Leah is not answering her phone calls. I didn't know that Leah had moved out as well. I'm assuming that she's left to stay with her parents or maybe her friends. It doesn't matter, but I guess it's finally over. Because moving out of the house, it seems pretty final. So I think I can expect to hear back from her lawyer in a couple of days, and then we can go ahead with the divorce. I just have a gut feeling that she is not going to contest it, and I really hope that she doesn't, because I feel like I've been fair enough in my terms of the divorce, and she shouldn't feel the need to ask for anything else. Anyway, I'm going to find out soon, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that now things work out well for me, because I'm already losing out a lot of money in buying back the ring. I don't want to spend a fortune on a lawyer fighting a long-drawn divorce as well. I just hope that things go well beyond this point. I don't know what else to say anymore. Update 2. Okay, so today I finally went to the jeweler store, wrote him a check, and bought back the ring. The guy seems to be pretty interested in the situation I'm in, and he was very talkative and seemed to be a bit of a gossip. So he told me that he had never been in a situation like this before and found it very interesting. He also told me that Leah had blocked him all of a sudden, and I think that's very interesting, given how her friends were trying to make it seem like she was feeling so bad about the fact that she was genuinely trying to buy the ring back. But I guess as soon as she realized that I was not going to be coming back, she stopped trying. So it was just for show, after all. And she doesn't really care about any of this and only cares about coming off looking better in this situation. That just confirms whatever I already believed, so I'm not surprised. After visiting the jeweler, I decided to speak to my family and finally rip the Band-Aid off, because I was sick of hiding things from them. And now that I had the ring, they wouldn't have to worry about that either. So I drove to my mom's house and sat my parents down and put my grandma on FaceTime and explained the entire situation to them. Everyone was shocked that Leah had done something like this, because she comes off as a very sweet person, and nobody had expected her to pull off something like this. My grandma was glad that I had managed to get the ring back, but she told me that after everything that had happened, it didn't seem fair that I had to buy my own ring back, and she told me that during the divorce, I should make Leah pay for it. I told her that I would think about it, but honestly, I know that that's not going to work. It would only lead to a long-drawn battle and negotiation after negotiation, which is really the last thing that I wanted. These things can get drawn out, and I really don't have the kind of energy or money to keep spending on lawyers. I didn't say it to her, but in a situation like this, there is not much that I can do except just admit defeat. It sounds bad, but really it's the more practical thing to do, because it's not like we had a written agreement or anything. It would be hard to prove anything. These are just social conventions and not hard and fast laws or rules. So going after this legally would be pretty much pointless unless I can afford the best lawyers in town. And my parents understood that, so they didn't press it further afterward. But after we disconnected the FaceTime call with my grandma, they told me that they were really disappointed in how the situation with Leah had turned out to be, because they had really liked her all along. They had never had any issues with her. She had always been such a great daughter-in-law, and when we got married, my parents were the happiest they could have been, because Leah fit in with our family so perfectly. She was like the missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle. And now, not even a year into our marriage, we were already getting divorced I ended up crying while they were talking to me, and they had to comfort me because so far I haven't allowed myself to break down or process any of the emotions that I had been feeling. But today, I just couldn't hold back. Hearing my parents talk about Leah and how upset they were about this situation, it just made me feel so bad about what I was going through. And they were right. Not even a year into our marriage, we were already getting divorced. I wouldn't have ever been able to imagine anything of the sort happening a few months back, or even a few weeks back. But now, this is happening, and there's not much that I can do about it. The worst part is that I know for a fact that she doesn't even think that she's done anything worth getting divorced over. That's why she sent her family and friends after me, to try and make me feel bad and guilt trip me into coming back. The whole talking to the jeweler thing was all just for show. She just wanted to make it seem like she felt bad, but she probably didn't. She doesn't even realize how big of a deal this was for me, and she really thinks that I'm overreacting, and that's what sucks the most. But I did feel lighter after talking to my parents today. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off of my chest. They told me that they were proud of me for standing up for myself and for my family and not allowing anybody to walk all over me, even if I did love that person. And that's all the reassurance that I need. That at least my parents think that I'm doing the right thing and that I'm not overreacting at all. If something hurts me, it hurts me. I can't help it. And if she doesn't care that she hurts me, then maybe it's good for us to get out of this marriage while we are ahead of ourselves. So now I'm just waiting for her to respond to my divorce petition, and I just hope that she doesn't contest anything, since that's really the last thing I need to go wrong right now. She's given me enough trouble. I don't want any more. Update 3. So it's been a couple of days since my last update, and I've been busy with stuff. I had missed a few days of work, so I had to make up for last time, and I had to work overtime because, given my current situation, I couldn't afford to annoy my employers. And in my free time, instead of relaxing, I was looking for apartments near my workplace because I don't think it's feasible for me to be staying at this hotel any longer. Thankfully, I've been able to finalize a place with a reasonable rent agreement, and I'm moving into my new apartment next week. Naturally, the more practical aspects of my life had been keeping me very busy, so I didn't have time to keep thinking about Leah and everything that was going wrong with her. In a way, it was a good thing because it kept me distracted, but then last evening she called me up. It was from a number I didn't have saved on my phone, so I instinctively picked up, and when I heard her on the other end, I didn't know whether I should stay online or if I should hang up. So I ended up just staying. I didn't say anything. I just stayed silent throughout the entire phone call. She didn't apologize or anything. She just told me that she really wanted to talk to me one last time, even though she knew that she had no right to ask that of me. But she still wanted me to meet her so she could deliver the signed divorce papers to me in person and just have one last conversation with me so she could clear things out. Even then, when I didn't say anything, she just told me that she would be waiting at home in the afternoon and then hung up. And for the rest of the evening, I was very conflicted about what to do. But this morning, I decided that I would finally go over because even if I didn't want to talk to her, I thought that it would be a good thing to at least get the divorce papers in person. And part of me was curious as to what she had to clear out with me, so I went home, and by then the place had pretty much been cleared out. Only the furniture remained. But the house had come pre-furnished, so that's obviously going to stay, and we are going to end the lease agreement by the end of this month. Anyway, after handing over the papers to me, she also handed over a check. I was very confused, but then I saw the amount, and it was a pretty significant sum. And she explained that she had returned all the stuff that she had bought with the money from the sale of the ring, and now, since we were no longer going to be together, she thought that it would be better for her to return the money to me. It was a few thousand less than what I had paid to the jeweler to buy my ring back. So I told her about that, and she told me that whatever amount I had to pay, she would cover the rest for me in installments over the next few months. But right now, this is all that she can afford to give me. I was fine with that because honestly, at least I got some of it back. Whereas I had expected that I would lose out on all the money that I had spent on buying the ring back. It felt a little awkward, but I did thank her, and that's when she finally apologized to me. She had already started tearing up, and she told me that she had never intended for things to go so wrong. But it was clearly too late to fix anything now, so maybe it was better for us to just let each other go. I didn't know what to say back, so I just stood there awkwardly silent while she went on speaking. She told me that she had been feeling awful about everything for the past couple of weeks, ever since I had left home, and even though her family and friends were all on her side, she couldn't bring herself to think that she had done the right thing and that I had overreacted. Somewhere deep down, she knew that I was right, and this was a huge mistake that she had made. She told me that at several points she wanted to reach out to me, but I had already blocked her, and she was afraid that if she did reach out to me, then I would maybe reject her and she wouldn't be able to take that. So that's why she just stayed away, and she also said that she knows I deserve better, which is why she thinks it's better for us to get divorced. By then, she was crying, but she still got done with her speech somehow, and then she walked away without waiting for a response from me. I was kind of in shock, so I just stood there in the living room for a couple of minutes after she left, and I sat on the couch and just tried to make sense of everything for about half an hour after I heard her car drive away. I ended up crying as well, and then I finally left and came back to the hotel. I'm going to go to the bank tomorrow to cash in the check, and I've already spoken to my lawyer about the papers, and since there's nothing else to be discussed, we just have to wait for the waiting period to elapse, and then we'll be officially divorced. I thought that this would feel a lot better than it does right now, but I guess with time, I'll move on. For now, though, it's going to hurt, and I'm going to let it hurt because there's really nothing else that I can do about it right now. Update 4. So I cashed the check today at the bank, and it felt very freeing for some reason. Leah and I haven't spoken in the past few days after our last interaction at the house, and I feel like I'm letting things go now, because holding on to that anger and the hurt is not going to do me any good, and I just want to forget about that whole episode and move on with my life. I've already moved out of the hotel and into my apartment, and thanks to my friends, I've been able to set everything up pretty quickly. I'm very grateful that I have such supportive friends. They have been checking in on me every few days, as frequently as they can. And I'm also very grateful for my parents, who have also been there for me emotionally. I don't think I would have been able to deal with this the way that I am right now had it not been for them. And it's not like I don't miss Leah or that I don't feel bad about anything that has happened. Of course I do. But I can't let that get in the way of my life, because the world is not going to stop for me and wait for me to process my feelings. I'm still going to have to work. I'm still going to have to keep up with the bills and everything. I'm still going to have to do everything that I'm required to do. And for me to be able to keep up the kind of emotional support that I've received from everyone was very necessary. So I'm really happy that I have such a good support system around me. In a few weeks, my divorce will also be finalized. And after that, I'll be done with all the legal stuff. I'm thinking of going on a holiday or doing something a little adventurous and spontaneous to get my mind off of things, because I really think I need a change of pace right now. I've been speaking to a couple of friends, and they seem excited about the idea of traveling together, so maybe I'll take them up on that. By now, pretty much everybody knows that Leah and I are not together anymore. Thanks to her social media post, I'm not a big social media guy, so I didn't post anything or make any announcements, but did put out a statement, and a lot of our common friends did reach out to me. Some of them just wanted to tell me that it gets better, and some of them only wanted to gossip. But at least everybody knows now, so I don't have to explain anything to anyone. So I'm grateful for that, at least. Anyway, that being said, I'm just looking forward to moving on now. Update 5. Hey everyone, so my divorce was finalized earlier this week, and once again, Leah called me from that number that she had used earlier to apologize once again. And this time, instead of just staying silent, I told her that I wish things could have worked out between us. But it is what it is. And I wish her nothing but the best for the future. She thanked me, and then she hung up, and that was that. It hurts. But I guess this is as close as we are going to get to getting some sense of closure. Now I'm actively trying to move on with my life, and as I had said in my last update, I'm about to go on a trip with a couple of my friends in a few days, and I'm really excited about that. I've been looking forward to it for weeks, and it's finally happening, and it really feels like I'm starting a new chapter of my life, which is pretty exciting. Of course, I'm still not over the chapter that I've left behind, but I can't go back. The only way to move now is forward, and I'm hoping that this trip does its job well. That being said, I don't think I'll be posting here anytime soon, so I just want to take out a moment and thank everybody who commented on my posts, supported me, and even reached out to me. It's really nice of you guys, and given the fact that you guys are literally strangers to me, and even then, people cared about my situation, it's really heartwarming. So thank you for all of that. I mean it. Stay tuned for more stories from Argo Relationships.